Earlier this year, we learned about the tragic death of a young man named Soleiman Faqiri from the TVO podcast Unascertained. It detailed the story of why his death in a prison in Ontario left more questions than answers. And now, thanks in part to that podcast, we have an update to the story. With us on that from Ontario's capital city, we welcome Yusuf Faqiri, who is the brother of Soleiman Faqiri and founder of the Justice for Solly movement, and Yusuf Zine, host of the TVO podcast Unascertained and co-founder of the production company Interspeak. Welcome to you both.
Thank you very much.
It's very nice to have you both here, and it's really cool that you're both called Yusuf. But just to avoid the confusion for our listeners, what I think I'll do is I will say your last name as well. And Yusuf Faqiri, you were saying that it's kind of cool because you and Yusuf Zine went to the same school?
Yes, the same university. Yeah, we went to the same university. Yeah, Wolf Laurier.
And your names are spelled exactly the same. I mean, Mars. Exactly. Okay, so we have an update on this, Yusuf Faqiri. Ontario's chief forensic pathologist has agreed to review your brother's death. How come?
Well, first of all, Nam, it's long overdue. The postmortem report of 2017 is 4 years old. It's 4 years old. It does not include the entire facts of the case. It does not resemble the case of Soleiman Faqiri now. It does not include the eyewitness account of Mr. John Thibault or the guard Don Rosal, who was fired, that admitted that they used excessive force into Soleiman's death, or the fact that they did not use the spit hood. This was not included in the old postmortem report. My family's been fighting for the better part of 4.5 years to get justice for Soleiman. It's an important start now. It's an important start. We're grateful that Dr. Polanin has now taken over the case in terms of reviewing and updating the postmortem report. But let me be very clear. This is a guarded optimism. That is to say, guarded hope. We've already been failed by countless institutions, including 2 subsequent police investigations that frankly shocked us and that lacked integrity in terms of getting justice for my late brother. The Ontario government refuses to even acknowledge my brother's death. So that's where our guarded hope comes from. But I hope that they get it right this time, because this is the first time that an institution in government is taking a sincere and genuine look into the tragic death of my late brother.
I'm really sorry for your family's loss. And as you said, it's been almost 5 years. And we appreciate you being on the show to talk a bit about this. What's it been like for people across the country to learn more about your brother in this podcast?
They've been shocked. And I want to give credit to TVO, Yusuf and his team, Michelle, Kevin Young, for the incredible work. People have been shocked. They've been shocked in seeing what happened to a young man who was vulnerable, who had a mental illness, and the way that he was treated just has shown like how much problems exist within this incarceration system. Individuals that are suffering from mental illness. Canadians have reached out to my family, and I've said, did this happen in Canada? Did Soleiman Faqiri have 50 bruises on his body, legs and hands being tied, pepper sprayed twice? These things that happened to Sully could have happened to another family, and will happen to someone else if we don't put a stop to this. And that's now the crux of our fight. We're fighting so there isn't another Soleiman. We're fighting so another mother does not bury their child the way we buried my beloved brother. And that's why people need to know what happened to Sully, so there isn't a tragedy such as this.
I'm very sorry. And where do you find the strength to keep the fight going?
Sully and I were 18 months apart. I was 18 months older than him. He was quite an inspiration for me. Mental illness, I'll be very candid, is a very debilitating, especially schizophrenia, is a very debilitating illness. But Sully, throughout his life, he was an inspiration. He found a way to learn languages. He found a way to still make the best with what he had. And he was my inspiration. I visit his grave every Friday usually. And I always make it a promise. I say, Sully, we're fighting for you. And it's not just you. It's not just your family. It's Ontarians and Canadians. And the strength ultimately now comes from the hope and the fact that his death and his tragedy and the man that he was, the gifted mind that he was, that we can make a difference, that could be Sully's legacy. He's gone. He's not coming back. And to be honest, we might never get the full justice that we deserve. That justice is for Sully to be here today. But at the end of the day, Soleiman's story should not be in vain. I don't want him to be another stat, because my brother had a story to tell. He was an uncle. He was a son. And more than anything else, he was a human being that deserved better. And I don't want Ontarians to go through what we're going through.
The most recent episode of Unascertained features an interview with the chief forensic pathologist. Let's take a listen.
There's a famous quote in the forensic pathology textbooks, which is that just because a pathologist indicates that the cause of death is unascertained by autopsy does not mean that the cause of death is unascertainable. In other words, the cause of death may very well be ascertainable if you enlarge the scope of evidence.
Yusuf Zine, what did you learn from that conversation?
Well, it was interesting. First of all, I didn't think that they would take our request for an interview. There are a lot of people who we reached out to who denied to give a statement or comment. So it was interesting when, as we were wrapping up the podcast, they agreed to speak to us. And when we first talked to Dr. Heyer and Dr. Plan, and Dr. Heyer told us he was getting emails about our podcast every day. So clearly they were listening and they were ready to talk about what was happening, what they were hearing. And what was interesting, that I think for me, the biggest thing that was interesting that came out of the interview, because he wouldn't comment directly on the case. And I, despite my constant, grilling and saying, we've been investigating this case for almost 2 years. This is all the evidence that we found that is not in the postmortem report. What do you have to say to that? How can you not acknowledge these very clear facts? And while Dr. Palenin wouldn't comment directly on the case, he did agree with me in saying that the questions you're asking are exactly the right questions. And even going as far to say, for example, when I brought the fact that Soleiman was left in a prone position with hands tied behind his back, Dr. Palenin agreed.
You should explain what that is. Sorry. That's hands tied behind the back. Okay.
Yeah, so the prone position is when you're laying on your stomach face down, and what that does is it constricts your lung capacity and your breathing capacity, especially when your hands are tied behind your back. It's a lot harder to get air, and that's the position we know Soleiman was left in. Not even to mention the fact that he was pepper sprayed twice and had a spit hood, which is essentially a bag over his head, further constricting his breathing. So these are facts that weren't included really in the postmortem report, or not taken into account. And so we kind of just laid it out for both of them and said, what do you have to say about this? And Dr. Palenin agreed that that is a risk factor for sudden death. So the question now is going to be, we know now that that's a fact, that Soleiman was left in that position. Dr. Palenin agrees that there's no debate that that is a risk factor for sudden death. Will that be included in his opinion in the cause of death in this new report?
In the first episode of the podcast, you said that you wanted to get answers. You wanted 3 questions to be answered. Now that you're heading towards the end of this, do you have those answers?
Well, I mean, for us, whenever as long as we've been investigating this story and asking those questions, it always came back to unascertained. When we ask, why were there no charges laid? Why don't we know all the facts about Soleiman's case? To us, it always kept coming back to unascertained, which is why we decided to name the podcast Unascertained.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah. In the beginning, I thought unascertained meant that there is no cause of death. But what we've come to learn is that unascertained doesn't mean there's no cause of death. It means there could be 10. But the pathologist couldn't determine which one is the cause of death. And I think it's important also for people to understand, when a pathologist is putting together a postmortem report or reviewing a postmortem, they're looking at 2 things. They're looking at the medical science, what the body can tell us about the cause of death, and the circumstantial evidence. How did he die? What did people see? And that's why eyewitness accounts, videotapes, things like that are so important. And that's kind of what our podcast attempted to do, was to look at that circumstantial evidence and piece together a timeline. And I think we were able to do that. We do provide a couple of very comprehensive timelines of what happened to Soleiman in his final moments. But in terms of the answers to our questions, I think will really come once we read this report.
And Yusuf Faqiri, when you heard that as a family, that the cause of death for your brother was unascertained, what was the reaction from your family?
Absolutely frustrating, now, because you have in that initial report, they said that he had these number of contusions, the 50 bruises, the fact that his legs and his hands were tied. It was a profound amount of confusion, because my brother's alive before this incident. He was a healthy 30-year-old man. There was no health issues, and he's dead after. And so for us, literally for the last 4.5 years, we're always asking, like, why? And there was a lot of internal conversations with the family. My mom, me and my mom, or my dad or my brother, it's like, Yusuf, why? How? And it wasn't just us, Nam, that asked this. I had conversations with medical experts, like, in terms of people that asked about the case publicly. And they questioned the fact that this was unascertained. You had other people that were in this space that said, how did they come to this conclusion when you have all this compelling evidence that happened to Sully? When the OPP as well, Nam, called John Thibault, the eyewitness, a credible witness, and it was still an unascertained ruling. So unfortunately, what's happened is we've continued to suffer. We've been fighting, but we continue to suffer. And it's as if Solomon's life really didn't matter. The fact that he's dead was one thing, but the fact that he continues to be dead in front of us the last 4 years, and the government doesn't even acknowledge like what they did to him, and that they kept putting this unascertained ruling, is very problematic. And for me, it's been very hard for my mom, especially because they were extremely close.
Our love to your mom, Yusuf, and thank you so much for being on the show. We have about 30 seconds left, Yusuf Zine. If you can give us an idea or an explanation, why were there no criminal charges laid against the officers involved in Soleiman Faqiri's death?
Well, again, I think it comes back to unascertained. It's sort of like, how can you tell who is responsible for Soleiman's death if you can't tell how he died? But, for us, I think the evidence we lay out in the podcast kind of shows very clearly how he could have died, and very likely how he did die. And so from there, that's the starting point for determining who is responsible. So I think a lot of people are maybe using unascertained as an excuse, but I think now with what we know publicly, that's not the case anymore. We know far more about this case now.
Well, we thank you both for your time, and Yusuf, our love to your family. You can listen to a new episode of Unascertained on June 23rd, examining these latest developments. You can access the series on Apple Podcasts or our website at tvo.org/unascertained, and also TVO podcasts are available on Amazon Music. Thanks again to you both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nam.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.